So you just got a new computer, it's a Windows 11 system, and you've never used one before. You're not quite sure where to go from here. You got this far, fancy wallpaper. But how do you use this? How do you get stuff done? Let's take a look. So what you're seeing right now is the desktop. Here we have a few icons, a recycle bin, and the Microsoft Edge browser. It's a web browser, default one that comes installed with Microsoft Windows. You can have a quick overview of the taskbar, which is at the bottom, and we have the time in the bottom right corner, along with the notifications, which when you click on it, pulls out a little bar on the side and lets you know everything that is going on notification wise. We can clear them all and we're good. We have other settings such as sound. This is where we adjust the sound volume. We have other options such as night light accessibility, sharing, project to another screen. Since this is a virtual machine, it won't have the same settings as a physical device, but you would see a wireless and a Bluetooth option if your laptop came with that option. If we click on this little arrow, we can see what else is running in the background. It's a nice indicator of our background tasks that are currently running. We have shortcuts for several functions. So this is the Microsoft Windows Store. This is the same Microsoft Edge browser, the same link as you can see up here. Then we have the File Explorer, which we'll come back to this one. That's one that you will use quite often. Then we have a desktop feature where we can create virtual desktops, and I will show you how to do that. Then we have the search bar where we can type in anything, whatever we're looking for. I'll type in calculator and it will come up here, and I just click on it to start it. And then we have the Windows Start button. So when I click on that, it'll give me a range of pinned apps, and this is all customizable as well. Some recommendations. This is a brand new install, so there will not be anything installed on here, but as you install applications, it will show them in here and recommend files that you've recently used. If we click on all apps, this will give me a list of all the apps that are currently installed and available to launch. If you'd like to create a shortcut of an app on your taskbar, all we need to do is left click the start button. We search for our app, let's say the mail app. I right click on it, and we don't want to pin it to start. Pin to start would be up here in this menu here. I would like to pin it to the taskbar. So I would right click there, more, and now it shows me pin to taskbar. So if I click that, now it's at the bottom here. And if I right click on here and pin to start, and we'll go back, now it's in the start menu here. So you have several ways to create shortcuts and quick access in various locations. If I would like to remove a shortcut, I would right click on the icon on the taskbar and unpin from taskbar. If I would like to remove the icon off of the start menu, I would right click on the app, unpin from start, and that removes it from there. The virtual desktop feature is very cool, but it takes some getting used to. So to start it, we'll hover over this icon at the bottom here, and then we can see we have desktop 1, which is currently what we're working on. And to demonstrate better, I will start a Microsoft Edge browser and just leave that open. And then, so now we can see that Edge is open on desktop 1. And now I will want to create a new desktop. So I just click the new desktop, and you can now see we have 2 desktops, and it switched me to desktop number 2. So I could have another browser session open here, or I could have just a file explorer window open here. And now I could switch between the 2 desktops while still having the same screen real estate. So it's like having 2 physical screens, but we're just switching between them on one screen. So I click on this and switch back to screen 1, and I'm back here. And then I can switch back to the other screen. We can also rename the desktops. So for example, I could have this as my File Explorer desktop, and I can have this as my website desktop. And then I can switch between them, and I can create as many as I need. You can see it just keeps on going. And if I don't need them anymore, I just click the X button and that will get rid of that. If I just hover over here, we can see the window. And another cool feature is that we can take a window from desktop to, or the File Explorer desktop. We can actually move it over to the website desktop. So we can just left click, hold, and drag this to the other desktop and let go. And now we have moved the window to this virtual desktop. So that's a really cool, useful feature that might need some getting used to, but super handy. One of my favorites, actually. We have a few personalization options. If we just hover over the desktop on a free space, we just right click the mouse button and we get several options. We have display settings, which will come in very handy. This is where we adjust the resolution of our screen. The typical resolution for a 24-inch screen is 1920 by 1080. I have a bit of a bigger screen with more resolution capability, which goes up to 1440, and it can go all the way up to 4K. Scale is the size of icons, 100% right now. If I increase this to 150%, you can see that it scales everything up to make it bigger for easier readability. I'll change it back to 100%. If I had more screens attached to here, I would see my screens lined up at the top here and would be able to identify what is screen 1 and 2 and organize them so they're lined up properly. If I go back and go right click on the desktop, go to personalize, this is where the main personalization options are. I can change the background. Microsoft has pre-made themes, so this would be like a light theme with this background. Then we can go into the more of a darker theme with the same background. We have changing backgrounds that this updates every so often, and there's several options, so you can just pick whichever one you like and go with that. If you'd like to go with a custom background, you have the option to do that in here. You can do a slideshow, a solid color, just one picture, and some adjustment settings for that here. Other personalization options is colors. So what kind of colors? If we do red, we get red buttons or blue buttons, accent colors. Here's the theme that you like, light or dark. That would change that, along with some other settings that you can play around with. We'll go back to personalization. Again, here's another window for themes where we can actually also create our own theme. We can select which background, color, sounds, mouse cursors, and we can save this theme as our own custom theme. It's kind of neat. Dynamic lighting, so all sorts of different settings, brightness, effects. Lock screen. This is the screen that shows when we lock our computer. If I were to go to the Windows Start button and press on this little profile me button, and I would say lock, then it would show this screen. So this is the lock screen. Then we can customize this to a picture, to a slideshow, or leave it as Windows Spotlight, which is the default. And then we can set what kind of information it can also show us. So we can select weather, mail, or calendar. We can set how long it takes to before the screen times out and then locks it automatically. And then the screensaver. We can have a screensaver just like in the good old days where we can have text floating around or just a blank or bubbles. That one was a favorite of mine, just bubbles floating around. Fun settings here. Go back to that. Text input. So you have theme settings for that. Touch keyboard. Start. So this would be the start menu. How do you want your start menu to look? More pins, default, more recommendations, recently added apps, show most used apps, show recommended tips for shortcuts, and you can adjust which folders appear in your start. The taskbar, which is the bottom bar here. So we can select if we want to have a search box or just a search icon. You can see it changed there, or just simply an icon, or nothing at all. Task view, if you want this visible or not, and you can see it at the bottom, taking it off and on. Widgets, we can turn widgets off and on. At the bottom left corner, you would see that disappearing. You can adjust your system tray, which is this little arrow. That's your system tray. What kind of apps that show here. So I could enable this, or virtual touchpad if I had one. Other system tray icons. So if I turn this off, then it would remove this little arrow. If I turn this on and turn this button on, it takes these apps that are hidden and puts them along the bottom here. So I see exactly what is running in the background and don't have to click on the little arrow before. Then we have some taskbar behaviors, whether you want it centered in the left, we'll put it back in the center. We can make it automatically hide the taskbar, show badges, show flashing on taskbar apps. There's several other options that we can pick from, you can play around with. Fonts, we can customize the fonts, and then we can just see device usage. So what are we using this for? Development, gaming, family, creativity, and this will enable certain features or turn off certain features. That's it for the personalization part. We go back to the desktop. Now, the second thing I want to mention is your file explorer. That's going to be an important one. This is where you go to find your files. So you'll have your desktop folder. It's the desktop that we're looking at here, but just in a folder. So if I were to make a new file or a new folder in here, call it test, and you can see that it popped it right up here as well. Okay, and then we have downloads. So by default, if we were to start up a browser session and downloaded some sort of app, it would automatically download into this downloads folder. So that's a good thing to know, that all your downloads by default go into here. Your documents, pictures, music, videos, and they're also pinned on the side here. Very handy feature. So how do I create folders and files and copy stuff and paste stuff? Okay, so we already created a folder up here, a test folder. And we did that by right-clicking on the desktop and going to new and then folder. And you can do this in any sort of window. You can go into File Explorer, go into Downloads, and right-click here, create, and then new folder, and it'll create the folder in there. Okay, so we have this folder here. How do I rename this? We right-click on the folder, and we have this little rename icon here. And then we call it whatever we want. Okay. So that's how you rename it. And you have the options up here as well. You can copy it by clicking on it to highlight it. And then you can cut it. You can copy it. And if we copy it, the paste button becomes available. So then we would just click paste and it would create us a copy of the folder. And if we don't want it anymore, we can just hit the delete button. We also get the same options if we right click. We have the same options here. If I go into the folder, in here, I could create a new file, a text document. Call it this. Okay, this is my letter. If I open this, it opens up the application that you can edit this with. And then you can write your story in here. We want to save it. Sure, we'll save it. Okay, so that's how you create a folder, rename it, copy and paste it, and delete it if you need, and create documents inside and edit them. Another thing that is really handy in the Windows Explorer window, which is this window that is currently open. If we go to a folder that has more folders inside it, we can see several columns here, and we can sort by these columns. and we have different view options up here. We can go to medium icons, list, details. We can change the view to anything we like. We can have a details pane on the right and several other options. And then we have the sort options here. Then we'll go to this PC, and this will show you your installed storage. On this machine, I have a 63.1 gigabyte drive, and it's got 44 gigabytes free. I can go into it and I can see the system files, I can see the user files, the program files. So if I go into users and then go to my account, this is the exact folders that we were seeing before, but now we have more options. And then this is the CD drive, which your laptop might not have, since that's not a common thing anymore these days. So if you were to plug a USB stick into your laptop, this is the place where it would show up. You would have another similar icon show up right beside, and then you could go into your USB stick and transfer files and do whatever. Okay, so now I know how to get to my files and personalize Windows. But so what if I want to install an app? Okay, so in order to install an app, we'll have to download an installer. So first of all, I'll need to make sure that I have an internet connection. And the way I quickly find out is by looking down in the bottom right corner. So here I can see I have no internet access, no connection available. So if you see this little world icon, that means you have no internet. So we can't actually browse anywhere. So let's get some internet. Since this is a virtual machine, I will just quickly enable the network adapter. And this icon, oh, here we go. So this icon now changed to a little screen with a network plug. And now it says network internet access. Good. Now I can go and browse something and install and download an installer. Microsoft Edge by default will, the first time, will ask you to sign in to sync your data. I'm not going to do that. I will just bypass all of this and continue with my search. So let's say I want to install the Brave browser. All I need to do is type in Brave in the search bar here. And here we have a quick download button on the Brave site. Get Brave for Windows. I click yes. It starts the download. And it'll pop up here. And if I click on this folder icon, show in folder, we can see, if we look at the top here, this tells me exactly where we are. This PC, users, me, downloads. So it's in my downloads folder. So, and it will be the same if I click on here, it'll be the same location. So here's the installer. This is what it looks like. And now we just double click on it to install it. I hit yes. And it will install the application. Great. So now it has installed Brave, and let's set it as the default. And we don't want to import anything, so we'll just skip it. No, thanks. And turn that off. Okay, good. So now we are in Brave browser. And would you like to pin Brave to your taskbar? Sure, let's do that. So this is going to make a shortcut at the bottom of my taskbar down here. So when I exit Brave, I still have the shortcut down here. So I just one click and it launches right up. Very handy. So now we have installed Brave. So what if I want to uninstall something? Exit out of here. Now, in order to uninstall an app, the easiest way to do that is if we right click on the Windows Start button, and you'll see a bunch of options pop up. The one we're looking for is installed apps. So we'll click on that. And this will list all the apps that are installed on your system. Windows has a whole bunch of pre-installed apps that just come with the system. So what we're looking for is Brave browser. So, and then we'll click on the three dots, hit uninstall and uninstall. I will click yes again to make the change and uninstall. Okay, now it's off the list and it's gone. So that's how you install and uninstall a program. Okay, let's take a look at Task Manager, which is a really powerful tool in Windows. It gives you an overview of your resources, your tasks that you're currently running, and anything that's running in the background. And you have the ability to stop certain apps or tasks, which is really helpful if a program hangs or a program is stuck. You can force it to quit and save your system. So there's a couple of ways to get to it. One way is to just right click anywhere on a free spot on the taskbar at the bottom, right click there and hit Task Manager. The other way is by clicking on the Start button, and we have the option of Task Manager right here. And there's a third way. If we do a Control-Alt-Delete, there's the option to start Task Manager as well. Speaking of, when we press Control-Alt-Delete, it gives us also the options to lock our system, to switch to a different user, to sign out, and to change a password. So if you're looking to change your password, this is one spot to do it as well. So back to the Task Manager window. So here we can see all the processes. Processes are anything that is currently operating on your system, including running apps. So here we can see apps, Task Manager, right? So this is currently running, and we can see how much CPU it's consuming, memory, disk, network. So it gives us a great overview of what is happening if your system is slow to respond because something is using 99% of your CPU power, or the memory is just maxed out and things aren't working. You can go into Task Manager here and it'll tell you exactly what is using up your CPU. So if we click on this column here, it'll sort it by the CPU, the most CPU usage at the very top, and go down. So we can see Task Manager is currently using the most CPU power. And if we click on memory, it'll sort it from biggest to smallest. So we can see here, this service is using 153 megabytes of my memory. And then if we wanted to end it, so let me start up Microsoft Edge, and at the top right, I will click this little button to minimize it. Now I can see it under the apps. So, and it's telling me how much it's using the CPU and memory. So right now we can see it's using 22%, 16%, and it's using 260 megabytes of memory. So if I wanted to end this process because it's hung up or it's just using too many resources, stealing it from other important tasks, then I could highlight this, right click, and end task. And you can see Microsoft Edge is no longer open. Let me just pull it over here again, just so we can actually see it close. If I highlight it and then hit end task, boom, gone. So this is a very powerful tool. Keep an eye on your system resources and resolve freezing or hangups. If we navigate to the second tab on the left side, we can see our overall performance, CPU, memory, disk, Ethernet, kind of the same as the columns here, but more of a visual. And then we have app history and startup apps. So this is actually a very useful one. The more apps you install, some of the apps want to start from boot. So when you turn your computer on, for example, OneDrive, that's built into Windows. This is going to start automatically as soon as I turn the computer on. I can disable this by in this window. So I would just highlight OneDrive and then click disable. So now OneDrive, next time I boot up my computer, it won't automatically start. And if you have a lot of apps installed, some of them like to start with the system. And the more you have starting with the system, the slower your boot up time is, because Windows will start, you will log in, then you have all these apps trying to start at the same time, and it'll slow down your entire system. Your system won't respond for a while until it's all started up. And you can turn these settings off just by right-clicking and disabling them. Then you manually start them when you want. That can save you resources, especially for boot up, and make your system more responsive on boot up. And then we have users, just a general overview. If you had more users logged in, you could see how many resources each of the users is consuming. And if you expand, you can see what apps are open in their session. Then we have details of all the running apps. And then we have services. You'll likely not need to go in here unless you kind of know what you're doing. So it's best to leave things as is in this window. Okay, that was Task Manager. Okay, so now I know how to keep an eye on my resources. So what if I want to add like a wireless mouse or a keyboard or my Bluetooth headset or add a printer maybe? How do I do that? Easiest way to do that is we go to the Start button, Settings, and we'll go to Bluetooth and Devices. So here, if we go into Add Device, we can add, here's like Add Device, then you can pair your Bluetooth mouse, Bluetooth keyboard, whatever it is. Your printers, you would hit Add Device, and as long as your printer is either connected directly to your computer or on the same network via cable or wireless, then your computer should be able to find your printer and you can install your printer on through this. You have an option for cameras, mouse, we talked about that, pens, and while we're in the settings, this is where most of your important settings are. So in the home, we see the name, a general overview, system tells us information about our computer. Here's the display settings that we were in before. We have sound options, notifications, power options, storage, activation for Windows licenses, and a few other settings in here. Network and internet. This is where you would come to connect to a Wi-Fi. So here we have an Ethernet, so that will be like a cable. This machine doesn't have Wi-Fi capability. You would see a Wi-Fi connection, a Wi-Fi option here, as well as if you click down here, you would see a Wi-Fi option just like a button like this. Personalization we went over, then here's the apps where we get to the installed apps list, make adjustments to default apps, and the startup apps that we were talking about before. Accounts. This is my account, and this is where I can adjust account settings. Info, sign-in options, email, family group, backup, I can add other users, passkey settings, and then other related account settings. Time and language, this is where we specify our time zone, adjust the time. Then you have gaming, a couple of options in here. Accessibility options, text sizes, visual effects. So things that help you make readability or usability easier if you're having trouble with any of the default settings. There's hearing options, interaction options, and then we have privacy and security. This would be like an antivirus, firewall, advertising settings, speech recognition, inking and typing personalization, app permissions. So what type of permissions your apps have. You can adjust various settings here, just like on a phone where apps will need access to your microphone or your camera. It's the same exact thing here. And you have the option to turn apps on and off. And then last but not least, we have Windows Update. So here is where we come for updates. It'll automatically check periodically for updates, and it will let you know that there's updates to be installed. And yeah, as you can see, there's quite a bit here that it needs to install. So we'll let this all download, and then it'll ask to do a reboot. But This is where you update your system. The right-click option on the Windows button also has very useful and powerful features that you may want to explore. So installed apps we looked at. With power options, so adjusting your power. Event viewer is system logs of what's happening. If you have any errors, you can go into your logs and see what the errors are, and that'll help you try to resolve them. System option will give you information about your whole system, your processor, your RAM, everything, your Windows edition, what version it is, and your product key, so you can change your Windows licenses. Device Manager is a useful feature. This will list all your devices that are installed on your system. So your audio devices, your disk drives, your display, your graphics, your mouse and keyboard and monitors, network adapters. So if you have issues with any of them, if your mouse isn't working properly, this might be a good place to check. If a device is not working properly, it will have a yellow triangle just underneath here, and then you can actually right-click on the option and say update driver. A driver is a piece of software that communicates with your hardware, so that your computer, that Windows knows how to talk to the mouse, and vice versa, so that it can read the instructions of if I click the left button, it does this. If I click the right button, it does this. Network connections, this is where we were in before, same spot. Disk management, this is a different view of your installed storage. So here you can see this is the disk that I have installed, and it'll show me the partitions that are in here. This is good for managing your different storage disks or SSDs. If you like to format one of them, you can do this through here and just have a general overview of capacity and free space. Computer management, this will show you several tools that are available to you. For example, task scheduler, where you can create scheduled events to run. Event viewer, which is that log. Shared folders, it shows the open files. Local users and groups, so this is a place where you can also add users and groups. You can see them all. You can view your performance, your computer performance. Device manager is where we went in before, and disk management is also part of this. So it's just a collection of tools that give you insight into what's happening with your system. And then we have the terminal, which is like a command line tool for Windows, Windows PowerShell, and task manager, and settings, file explorer, search, and run, which is like a shortcut way of launching an app. There are certain apps that you can launch by calling them via their launch name. So for example, PowerShell, which is already in here, if I just punch in PowerShell, it'll open the PowerShell window. If I want to do the Windows command prompt, I punch in CMD and it'll launch the command prompt. So you'll have to know what shortcut launch name is for it to work. That's a quick way to do that as well. And then we have the shutdown or sign out option, which gives us the options to sign out, sleep, shut down, or restart. And then we have the desktop button, which could be useful in case where we have several things open. So if I open this and I right click and hit desktop, it shows me the desktop. So that's a basic tutorial on how to use Windows 11, how to get around and make use of all the functions and features it offers. There's plenty more to explore, but these are just the basics to get you started. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.